goes. Um, it's 6 o'clock. I try to be prompt with things. Again, if others join us, fantastic, but we'll record this and they can catch up. Um, I'm Jewel Yoder. I know I've seen you all in various different things, but I thought I'm just going to start from square one, introduce myself to you guys. And although I know some of you in various bits and pieces, I want to know a little bit more about you too. And I'm sorry because you all know each other better than I will. So sorry for the repetitive nature of this. But again, as I said, I'm Jewel Yoder. Just to give a little bit of background, graduated with my bachelor's degree from Goshen College in '99, and really knew in my heart of hearts, graduating, that I didn't necessarily have an affinity for adults, of taking care of them, as I was just saying. So I always, and my mom was a pediatric nurse practitioner, so I don't know if I inherited that from her or what that was. And so I took the only job opening at Goshen Hospital. I didn't venture very far as a new grad. And the only position open in that kind of mother baby area was a float nurse position, where you'd float to one end of the hall was OB, the other end was pediatrics. And did that for, I kid you not, maybe 6 to 12 weeks, enough to like get through orientation. And so it was 6 to 12 weeks after being off of orientation, and they pulled all of the float nurses together and said, okay, changing things up. You guys just became the charge nurses over these floors. And I'm like, oh, all right. Wasn't necessarily thinking that when I took this on. And so I quite frankly always say, I don't feel like my first year of nursing, like that I was much of a nurse. It was more like, how do I manage all of this, rather than really ever diving into patient care. In that year, my husband was finishing up college, and he was trying to get into teaching. And in the Goshen area, people were just kind of staying in their jobs for a while. So he was having a hard time finding a position. Worked at Basher Children's Home, which is kind of like an inpatient place for kids that have kind of emotional needs and stuff. And he said, this is not what I was going to school for, Jewel. Can I apply for jobs out in Colorado? He had family members out there, and I just humored him and said, sure. And 2 weeks later, we were packing up and moving to go to Colorado. We had no kids. We were young and adventurous, and that was fantastic. And I really went to Colorado in about the year 2000, thinking we'll be here for a couple of years and we'll move back to my parents and my family in Goshen. And 16 years later, we finally did make that move. But in that time out in Colorado, just still trying to figure out what kind of nurse I was going to be, and really found my love and passion as being a NICU nurse. And it was in that role that I got the opportunity to go back and get my master's in 2010, and I focused in nursing leadership. They had a leadership or an education track. And I really thought, oh, maybe I'll do the extra few classes and kind of have a dual master's in both. And of course, by the time I got that leadership one, I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing the other classes. So I laugh now that I'm in education of like, maybe I should have done those classes. But as we are in nursing, you just learn on the job. So I've kind of hopefully figured some things out over the years. And then again, Goshen and EMU launched this lovely doctoral program. And that happened, again, I moved back to the Goshen area in 2016. And I don't remember when this whole thing launched, 2017, 2018, something like that. And felt like, okay, well, if they're going to offer this, I'm going to step in and kind of try it out and be a willing guinea pig. And quite honestly, it's something where the college, as an employee of the college, they help give us, stipends and stuff to make it affordable. So, graduated with my DNP through this program in 2020. And in some ways, that's really great because I've been in your seats not all that long ago. And just my role, I think, in this class is just trying to help you guys get to that finish line, because you've made it this far, which is awesome. And I know, again, because it hasn't been that long ago, that feeling of like kind of getting exhausted. And Susan and I were talking at work today, since we're colleagues, of in some ways I had a benefit of this class ran during the summer, when I was taking it, which for my project worked fine. For other projects, depending on what you're trying to implement and stuff, that may not work as well. And so again, for Susan's project, with hers being kind of student based, and Kathy, the same with, I know yours is kind of a student based project too, that it's nice to have school in session for that. So there's pluses and minuses. I also just have to acknowledge that this is a 6 credit hour class for you guys. Um, and it's really designed that way because of all the hours you're supposed to do during implementation. So while it's a 6 credit hour class for you guys, it's a 1 load class for me. So again, that discrepancy is just to tell you, it's kind of a hands-off class for me. There's a few things where I'm going to touch base with you. And of course you can, that's not to say you can't contact me and be in touch with me. That's what I'm here for. But it's really designed for you guys to have the freedom to do the work that you need to do. So I'm hoping, and you'll have to give me feedback. I inherited this. I think that Dr. Stolzfus has been teaching it for the last couple of years and stuff. So again, I'm completely open. You guys are my first time teaching this. At the end, if you say, Jewel, do X, Y, and Z, I'm really open to that, because I just pretty much kept the course as she had designed it, which I think is good. I think enough about my background. Like I said, I know some of you guys in various different ways and stuff. I would like to ask 2 questions, if you're willing to humor me, just for me to kind of be oriented to you a little bit. If you can think back, I want to know, why in the heck did you ever start doing this DNP program? Again, to maybe fuel that, like, why did I ever do this? And then secondly, help me understand what kind of nursing you currently do. Just so I can kind of see, like, where are you at in your career, or what are you enmeshed in your daily living? And I don't care who starts. So open floor here.
Well, I can go. That's fine.
Thank you.
I feel like I mean, I knew about the DNP program because I was there when it began at Goshen College, and there's discussion about wanting to increase our numbers of people who are doctorally prepared teaching in the nursing department, but I did not think I would do it, and it was kind of on a whim. And it was when at the beginning of COVID, and I think part of my mindset was, well, what else am I going to do right now? Like, I'm kind of at home, I've got this time. Well, I'm going to be, teaching, of course, it's not that I'm not going to be out and about as much. So I feel like really, I don't think I had thought about it seriously before. I'm like, yeah, I think I'll just throw my hat in the ring. But it's been a good decision. I have really enjoyed my work, thus far. And, the teaching, what I do now in nursing is I teach. I was seeing patients, part-time on and off the last couple of years, but I'm not doing that right now. I am just finishing up my DNP and teaching and enjoying it.
Very good. Thanks, Susan.
I guess I can go next.
All right.
Hey, Jewel. Thinking back, why did I start the DNP program? I feel like in nursing, I feel like we always do this. It's really hard for me to break it down and make it some formal project, but we review the literature all the time and implement into our practice all kinds of different things throughout our whole practice that just, we don't even think about it. It's not like we're putting together a DNP project. It's just that somebody has a chronic illness, and chronic illnesses are associated with depression. And why aren't we screening everyone with this chronic illness for depression? You just ask those questions, which has kind of thrown me backwards now that that's my project a little bit. It's been really hard for me to go back and say, how am I going to implement this whole thing together and just tear it apart, because I already know what I want to do and how I'm going to work it. And then now I'm backstepping. So that's been really hard. But why I started the DNP program is because I am a hands-on nurse. I am a hands-on nurse practitioner. This degree is the most applicable to what I do It is not a PhD program. I do not want to be a researcher. I want to take the evidence that's out there and develop the protocol and the processes that our nursing needs to be successful. And we have the skills to do that. And we do it all the time as nurse practitioners. So that's why, and it's a terminal degree. I mean, you kind of want to encourage your younger nurses coming into the field, get your DNP. We did it, so you can do it too.
Yeah.
And what do I currently do? Well, I currently work in bleeding disorders with Indiana Hemophilia and Thrombosis Center in Indianapolis, and do a lot of ultrasounds, a lot of factor infusions, work with hemophilia, von Willebrand's disease, Amish, lots of Amish population. So that's what we do. That's what we do at IT.
Amy, where did you get your nurse practitioner degree from?
My nurse practitioner degree came from Indiana University, but I think I've been to every college around here, which has been such an awesome experience because it's such diversity. I started off as an LPN at Ivy Tech and then went and got my associates, and I went to Bethel for my bachelor's, and I went to IU for my master's, and here I am at Goshen for my doctorate. So it's been a phenomenal experience. I would highly recommend that process to anyone because it's just really good.
That's
to get all that. Yeah, it's been really good. It gives me a lot of perspective.
Perfect. Well, Amy, thank you. You were the person here tonight that I wanted to get to know a little bit more. So, and I assume then you're down in the Indianapolis area.
No, I actually, I live here right outside of Goshen in the Milford area.
Okay.
So,
all right.
yeah. So I was in family medicine through Goshen physicians and had a family practice that I loved very much here in Milford, and just I have an autistic son, and he needed me a little more to get him situated into his own apartment, and I wanted to be readily available for him, and so I left that and decided to work from home through the outreach program. So it's worked out very well.
Very good. Great. All right, Kathy, how about yourself?
I had looked at getting my doctorate degree for a long time. I had looked at PhD programs, and then and I'm old enough that I can remember when the DNP was a new thing, and then I started to look at those programs. I knew PhD was not a fit for me. I am, as Amy said, very much hands-on at the bedside, not a researcher primarily, although I obviously appreciate research. So when EMU and Goshen put this collaboration together and offered it, it seemed like timing wise it was good for me. It was a nice fit. And it was a good fit, I thought, from that point in time for my family and what I was doing with my life. So I'm a lifelong learner, so I really like to learn. Hi, Rosemary. And let's see. What do I do now? Okay, so I teach full-time at EMU nursing, and I also work in the Student Health Services Center, seeing students as patients at several hours a week.
And what type of classes do you teach at EMU, Kathy?
I teach primarily in the students' final semester, so I call myself the finisher.
Nice.
I teach transition to practice, which is a course that helps to prepare them for professional transition to that professional role of a nurse. I teach critical care nursing because I have kind of a split background in critical care and women's health. And I also do clinical instruction for their final semester experience in the hospital.
Awesome. Yeah, I too get to do some of those end wrap up things, and that's fun in a way because you are, like you said, kind of launching them or finishing them. You're also really battling that senioritis of they can just taste that degree, and it's kind of like, stick with me a little bit longer here. You're almost there.
For sure. Yes. Mhm.
Rosemary, thank you so much
Hello.
for joining us. Hello,
Sorry,
my
I'm
friend.
late.
You're fine.
Yeah.
We're recording this because Kylie's going to get caught up with us. I'm just having people go around and do introductions, although I do know you. But just the questions I'm asking Rosemary are, as you get to this point, of you guys, you know, again, as I talk about senioritis, you guys might be feeling that too, of kind of how do you keep that momentum going here as you're into these final DNP courses. So I'm wondering, like, can you think back to what motivated you to start down this path of getting your DNP, and then just refresh me, Rosemary, of where you're at right now, of what kind of work you're doing.
Okay. What motivated me? I was actually talking to Nancy maybe about 2-3 weeks ago. For some reason, I just like, I don't know, I like learning. I love helping, and I like the practical kind of things. Looking into doctorate, it seemed the DNP was fitting for me because it's more practical as far as the projects and things that I can help in the community. I love helping in the community. And, you know, comparing that with the PhD, I felt like DNP was more fitting for me because I do have a goal of eventually going back where I grew up in Kenya and how I can help communities. And, you know, and that's, you said, what's my momentum towards the end right now? I'm not going to lie. I just want to be done. This last semester was rough. It was rough. So, and I'm just probably just getting over, like, okay, that's done.
Yeah.
So, and I still, you know, I had to take an incomplete in roots class. So I'm still, you know, finishing up on that. But I'm just right now, I'm just honestly just want to, you know, focus on finishing and be done. And currently, so my degree is in family nurse practice, but I work as a psychiatric nurse practitioner. I work at Bremen Neuropsychiatric Hospital. It's an inpatient hospital where we take care of acutely sick patients psychiatrically. We do also have like the medical aspect of things where we have a nurse practitioner that sees them for medical stuff, but I deal with the psych part of it. Okay. I've done it for 2.5 years now, and I love it. Today being Monday, that's why I'm late. It was a rough day, but I enjoy it.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, again, it's so good to see you. Rosemary and I met when she was doing her RN to BSN completion program. So I lost track of you. I knew you had done our family nurse practitioner program. And so it's lovely to reconnect with some of you, and Amy, for you and I to get to know each other. So again, my role, as I see it, is not only to like help facilitate you guys through this class, but my daughter has been a cheerleader for many years, and I don't know if I just live vicariously through her, but I would dearly love to be a cheerleader. So I will just put myself in that role for all of you guys, of rooting you on here, you know, to completion in this. And Rosemary, thank you for bringing up the incomplete. I kind of mentioned that earlier. You guys are all, quite honestly, at different points in your DNP journey, and we will I'll talk through that in this class, because I acknowledge that's kind of a weird thing for me to teach a class, or to facilitate this class and kind of be like, let's try and meet everybody where they're at. And so with that being said, you guys, let me switch us over and we'll look at the syllabi together and kind of how I've structured the course. And then I'm happy to kind of have conversation with you guys too, especially around the forum posts, because I think they're kind of designed to say, like, where are you at with implementation? And if you're not to implementation yet, then let's kind of discuss how are we going to approach those. So with that being said, let me just share my screen with you real quick here. Perfect. So here is your Moodle course for this class, and let me go into course documents. Perfect. So again, right here is my email. You guys do not hesitate to reach out and email me as things pop up, that sort of thing. I put my office phone number on here. I will say we switched to this Zoom phone. And so for the most part, unless I see your names pop up, you're probably just going to go to voicemail, which gets sent as an email to me anyhow, but you can use that. It's sort of a weird way of getting in touch with me. And then my cell phone. And again, not that I feel like this class is one that leads itself to emergencies necessarily, but again, I answer text messages as well. I just always tell people, like, tell me who you are. Some of you might be in my phone from past iterations, but otherwise just tell me who you are. So a variety of ways if you need to connect with me. Like I said, this really is supposed to be like a 1-hour didactic course. So I did not really change what Dr. Stelsus had in here, but like I said, I'm open to feedback on if it's feeling like it's too much or something like that. It is a 5-credit-hour class because of the number of practicum hours you're supposed to get in this course. So again, if you're to the implementation phase, or when you get to the implementation phase, you're doing 300 practicum hours. If you're still back on your planning phase, help me out, guys. Is it 150 hours that you're trying to do in planning? Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. Dates of the course. Here are our course objectives. Again, just as a refresher, this is a leadership DNP. It talks about, everything you guys were saying of hands-on, it's practical, all those reasons that we picked it. And so again, as you're doing the implementation work and even the planning work of working with your faculty lead, whoever you're working with at your your practice partner, the first objective is just that we're trying to demonstrate these advanced leadership skills, that you're collaborating with a team, and again, that you're in that role of kind of the team lead of working to do whatever project improvement sort of thing, improving the health of our populations and communities, as you all talked about. This is, once you are kind of technically into this implementation class, as it says, you're looking at methods of how am I going to implement that which makes sense for my project? Is this, helping to create something where you're teaching your coworkers, your patients, your students, whatever it is that's tied to your project. And then, of course, it's not enough for us to implement something, but as we're implementing it, we need to be tying it to kind of what are we measuring to? What's the measurement of success with our goals? So again, that evaluation piece needs to kind of be tied with what you're doing. Translating evidence into practice, again, that's taking you back to Nancy's class of course, what you're doing right now is grounded in all the research that you did to say, yes, this project that I'm doing has merit to it. The research would back this up, and that's why I'm doing X, Y, or Z. Demonstrate implementation in the appropriate arena. So again, that's why you have that practice mentor. Hopefully you are finding them to be somebody that's supportive of you. And as you really get into this implementation piece, that's where they become your go-to, almost more than I am, unless you're like Susan, where you're implementing something where I serve as the chair of the department. But for most people, you're implementing your project in a different setting. And so that practice person is the person that has to guide you through, boy, I'm stuck on this stumbling block, or who do I talk to, or how do I move the dial? So again, it all goes back to that collaborative team. And then the last thing, once you actually are at the point of going into implementation, you need to make sure that you are applying for IRB. And I'm sure that Ruth talked about this in her class, but applying for IRB approval from, again, your school. So for many of you, that's Goshen. Kathy, you'll of course do that through EMU. And you will want to talk with your project site too and see if they have any sort of IRB process that you need to be going through on their end too, depending on what your project is and where you're implementing it. And then your final deliverable for this class is kind of a poster presentation. And I'll be honest, you guys, that poster presentation really became my piece of evidence for doing my dissemination piece. I signed up for a statewide conference of a group that I'm a part of and did my poster presentation there, and that check marked the box of being able to disseminate my work. So again, not that it has to be perfect here as you do it for me, but do see it as something that you can use to meet some further requirements down the road. Your textbook for this class is just the Doctor of Nursing Practice textbook that I think you've had from before. The grading scale for this is the same as it's been in other courses. The only difference in this one, I guess, that's maybe new, is that this course is a credit, no credit class, which is sort of interesting. All the rest of them, I believe, have grades attached to them. And I think that that's because really this class is supposed to be designed for you just to, you know, have most of the time to be doing your stuff. So again, there will be a grade that I use to determine credit, no credit. But again, I fully believe that all of you will pass the course. It's just at whatever point you're able to do that. So again, for those of you that took incomplete in your previous class, I understand that you're probably not maybe quite ready to engage with this one. And really, I'm encouraging you to do the things that you need to work with your faculty lead person, your mentor, whatever things you still have outstanding. I don't know, and I can work with each of you individually and talk with Ruth or go back through my emails. I don't know how long you had taken incompletes to finish her class. And so I go into this knowing that you're, again, like I said, all at different points with it. So if it feels reasonable for you to engage with the forum posts, and I think that can happen because the forum posts are kind of just asking you, you know, like, where are you at in the process? Talk to me about these things. And you may not be at the implementation stage, but you can probably talk through kind of where you're at. And if it doesn't feel like it makes sense, then you'll just need to tell me, hey, Jewel, we got to pause on this for a second. This doesn't seem like it quite applies. So again, do your IRB application. There's a place in Moodle for you to submit all of that stuff. Again, once you have successfully defended your project, you can go ahead and start with that. So a few of you are already at that place. If you've got that or it's in process, as soon as you get it, just put it in there for me. It says it's in the week 5 portal. So look around for that. Again, there isn't really a hard due date for that, but that's just kind of where it's placed in the class for the inbox for it. Forum posts, again, there's 2 of them here to do. I'm following how Ruth had set it up. I believe that they're due by 10 p.m. on Thursday. There's kind of a prompt that you're speaking to. Again, do your best to try to have that meet wherever you're at in the process. And then you're to respond to 2 peers, 2 colleagues by Sunday evening. So again, don't make that take a lot of your time. That's 2 times during this course where you're doing that. Again, with this being a leadership DNP, we're focusing a lot on you in the role of the team lead, especially here as we get into the project and into the implementation. So during this class, you are to have 3 team meetings. And I don't care if you're really in the implementation phase or if you're still back in the planning phase. I would like to see these happening because I think it's these meetings that help move the dial no matter where you're at. And it's good to be touching base with your team to kind of fill them in on where you're at, what you're struggling with, and honestly for them to be your cheerleaders too. There doesn't have to be anything wrong other than, you know, just saying, hey, keep going, you've got this sort of thing. So again, those 3 meetings that need to take place. Again, not all of your team needs to be there. If your peer person assigned to it or something can't come, that is not the end of the world. The main thing for me is that your faculty member is involved in it, and your project practice person, as much as possible. So there are boxes for you to upload those meeting minutes as well. Yeah. Point D says that the meeting should include the date, who's present, who's absent, and maybe why. And then just, again, a paragraph or so just telling me, like, what were you discussing? What's the main points? This may just be simply a reporting that everything's going stellar and there's no problems. That can be possible. Last, like I said, is this poster presentation. There's a template in Moodle for you to use. It talks you through the fact that you want to list the goal, the abstract, the introduction, your goals, aims of the project, methods, and references for it. I will say, I think by the time I got to the references section, when I did mine, my font had to be pretty small. So again, it's not that you have to necessarily put all your references on here. You might want to just pick, I don't know if there's substantial ones over others that really helped you with the implementation or something like that, but you could pare that down if you need to. As with all of your DNP courses, there is this tracking form. So again, you'll want to finish your 150 hours that you needed for your DNP planning course with Ruth, and maybe some of you are done with that. If you're not, you'll keep working there. And then you'll track your 300 hours for this course kind of on there. You just need to notify me when that's done, because again, I believe each of you has a log that you're doing, and it's kind of in your own student files. And then lastly, and this one is, I'll just be honest, it's not fun. It wasn't fun when I was doing it. But you do have this DNP essentials table that you're required to do too. And so again, think back to the work that we did in this class or the things that you implemented. This may be really more of an individual thing than any other class, because this is you implementing your own projects. And so your projects are going to kind of determine which of those essentials you were working at. Is your project something that's really around patient safety? Then you're going to be in the patient safety bucket. If you're doing one on information technology, maybe more of your hours are going there. So again, look at those. I don't know, I'm going to misquote myself. I think there might be 10 DNP essentials. Forgive me, I did do this once upon a time. And pick out the ones that you think apply or that you used in this course. There's no right or wrong answer with that. I think you just say which ones you did and a few exemplars. Again, here, there's this 1% reduction in grade for late assignments. But work with me. I want to be flexible on some of that. I hope these aren't anything new. Just use your school email and stuff. Title IX, academic integrity, disability. Here's the grade range. And of course, if you are coming into my class with an incomplete in Nursing 800, it is my thoughts that you will probably end my class with an incomplete too, because that seems a little bit insurmountable that you were going to not only catch up on the previous class, but do all 300 hours. So just know going into it, from you to me, like that is my expectation. So you're not letting me down or anybody else. Now, if you're able to get caught up, kudos to you, but that would not necessarily be my expectation for you. Let me stop sharing and see if you guys have any questions over just the syllabus there.
So, Jewel, I had a question related to the hours. You want us to be pretty specific in terms of what we're doing with the time that we're recording. In other words, we can't chunk things together that happen on different days, because, if there's similar events, just be very specific and individualize those things.
Yeah, Kathy, I think I understand what you're what you're asking. And yeah, like I want your log, and I think I'm in accord with what Dr. Cash and Dr. Stausfus would say as well. I want your log to be by date.
Okay.
So date by date. And I know that that's tedious, and probably by the time my log was done, it probably was, I don't remember, 10, 12 pages, because you're putting
Yeah.
those entries. And so I
Sure.
get that, on this date, I might have spent an hour and a half on X, Y, or Z. I think that's just the most clear way of
Okay.
actually what the hours are spent. And again, it's a little bit tedious to do it that way, but I think it also, I don't know, in some ways helped me look back and be like, okay, what did I do? And of course there's going to be periods where you're like, ooh, I've got a lot done, and periods where you don't get much done.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. And one other question related to hours. Do the hours that we spend on class assignments for this course go into that 300 hours? Or is it just in the project implementation?
Kathy, I am going to be honest with you and say I don't know the answer to that. So
Okay.
let me do a little consultation. I may actually just like review the assignments too, and tell you how many hours I'm willing to assign for each one too.
Okay.
So that's a good question. And I do that in a lot of my other classes where like you get credit for things. So let me maybe talk with Melody, talk with Ruth, and see if I can't help. Because again, that poster project at the end, like I said, that is such a nice sort of summary of your work that feels very relevant to me personally. But just I'm going to cover
Right.
my own tush.
It seems like that would be a very important part of the work we're doing. So yeah. And it seems to me that for me personally, that will take me some time to do.
Yes. Yep. Good question, Kathy. And I'm sorry I'm not more prepared to answer that.
No, that's fine. I just was curious. It just was something that when I looked at those things, it crossed my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, you can't do that without having done the work to put into it. And like I said, I did use it for other things. So that in particular seems like a really good one. Susan, I think you had maybe raised your hand too.
Yeah, I had a question on the essentials table. I realized as I was filling it in for this last semester that I have some holes there where there are things that I have not addressed at all. Is our goal that each thing has something we've done in grad school on it?
As in like each essential. So I'm just making something up here. Let's say that there's essential 6 and it's like safety and quality, and there's essential 6.D or something like that.
Right.
I don't, again, you guys are asking good questions. I should remember this better, and I just don't. To me, it seems like that would be a hard thing to accomplish because of the nature of each project being different. Like I said, like some projects are going to lean themselves to focus in one area over another. So again, let me review my own past work to see personally if I was able to accomplish that, because that might help guide me. And let me ask Melody and Ruth. So again, great question. I don't know the answer. There's part of me that says like, how could that be? And then there's another part of me that says, but our accrediting body would also say that it's our job as a program to have somehow introduced you to all those concepts. So the idea of, do you understand the concept versus how deep of a dive did we do in it? I'm not sure. So I can see it both ways, and I don't know what the right answer is, Susan.
I also realized as I looked at it that I had never put anything down for the policy class. And I'm thinking that maybe Brendan never said anything about it. So I should probably go, I mean, like each class we do, we can add to that, right? Like that's every class we do can have something there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, again, it's a little bit annoying for you guys probably that we've now like built these into each class. That wasn't the case when I was in it. It was sort of an end deliverable. And I will say then I had to spend a lot of time at the end in Melody's 804 class being like, oh, there's this whole table, and going back and thinking through like, okay, biostats, what did I do in that? Population health.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, that makes sense. I didn't realize that you guys didn't do it. I mean, it makes more sense to do it class by class. I just realized that for policy and maybe for health information technologies, I may not have put anything at all in there.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look, but I just realized that.
And again,
I didn't do either.
yeah,
Okay.
just to make this sort of specific to you, Susan, and just because we were talking, like Susan, for example, was able to transfer some of her previous work that she had done at Johns Hopkins into this too. And so like there you're gonna have to go into a Wayback Machine and like
Right.
kind of say like,
Oh, so I
you're
should
not,
put that in even, yeah.
well, on a technicality, probably because it's sort of this compilation of you proving like I understand all these different aspects of DNP.
Okay.
Now, like I said, you're still asking a really good question of like, does every single area have to have a check mark? And I personally just can't recall that. And so it's I'll be honest, it's a stretch. Like, right, that yeah, I kind of understand that concept, but it's not like I ever really used it in my project. So let me, I'm putting that on my consultation list. So look how good I'm going to be by next time I do this, you guys. Let's go over the course schedule too a little bit, and then I don't know how much of this stuff I need to share with you guys. Like I said, I'm always open to questions, so I don't need to do like a huge deep dive into the class, but let me do course schedule. So check one, we did the Zoom session tonight, so there we go. You know, week 2 is sort of, you know, there is a, hey, read this. I put in sort of this idea of, hey, keep in mind by the end of the month, around January 29th, I want you to have thought about getting a meeting with your team going. And then there is a forum post happening week 2, which is, it's looking at sort of the rubric that you use as you're writing your paper. And it's kind of saying, okay, tell me where you're at with this, where you're at with that. So that's why I say, even if you're not through planning, write down for me and for your classmates in that forum, like, where are you at with things? Where are you stuck? What, you know, that sort of thing. So just, you're getting a couple of points for each of those topics, and just kind of write down, you know, where you're at, even if you're not to successful implementation. What's your plan right now to be successful with that? You know, what tools are you going to use? That sort of thing. So that's going to help me to kind of understand a little bit where your project is at.
Where's that at, Jewel? I'm sorry to interrupt, but where are you at? That you want us to?
I'm just reading through this, what's due when, and I can show you where that forum post is located in Moodle, Amy, if that helps you. Week 3, again, is kind of titled Preparing for IRB Approval. There's a little bit of reading to do, and you're supposed to go back to your N800 class. Hopefully you all still have access to that, and kind of review this Protecting Human Research Subjects tutorial, just because it's been, you know, probably about 2 years or so. By week 3, again, sometime by the end of the month here, January 29th is kind of the deadline. I want you to have gotten a team meeting going in about the next 3 weeks or so, that you meet with your team and kind of talk through with your team where you're at. Week 4, there's this self-reflection on kind of progress towards achieving the goals. So again, this is another forum post of just talking through, you know, how are you coming with things. So the forum posts are really just sort of this, tell the group where you're at. Let us be your cheerleaders. Let us keep moving, you know, cheering you on here. Week 5, as the template says, is where there's spots for this IRB approval. So again, whenever you're getting that, for some of you, you may already have that. For others of you, that may come 12 weeks from now. Who knows? So whenever you get that IRB approval, it just goes in this week 5 class. I don't know why there's these different colors here, so just disregard those. I guess they're just pretty. Week 6, again, there's a reading and a couple of readings that she's posted, that Ruth has posted there. And your second team meeting is to happen by February 19th. So first team meeting, January 29th, second team meeting, February 19th. By week 7, I'd like those team meeting minutes to be submitted. Week 8 of this class is sort of midterm break. Again, not that there's a lot that's due in this class, so that's up to you. If that's a time where your schedule actually allows you to have time off, then maybe that's a really big week where you're working on implementing things, or maybe you're just taking a break. So again, I just put it there as a mile marker, not that it really impacts us per se. And then your last team meeting needs to happen before March 19th, you guys. So again, those are kind of the deadlines for the team meetings: January 29th, February 19th, and then March 19th. I think I gave you a little extra time because of this midterm break in there. By week 11, we're working on our poster presentations. That's not due until April. I gotta move you guys out of the way here so I can see April 10th there. There is a week 12 has a video there on how you record a video. Now, maybe you guys have done this in your other classes and stuff. So again, that's just for you, and that you are going to do like I'm doing this evening, of have your poster pulled up and give a bit of a presentation to your peers on your project. And then the final class, the poster presentations are due by 10 p.m. on Monday, April 10th. Like I said, there's a template, and there's, it's called sort of an elevator speech. I don't like using that term because I think Don uses it, or it comes up in another class. I think it's a little bit of a misnomer. I prefer to refer to it of just, you're telling somebody about your project. So I guess it means the same thing. I don't know why I take issue with elevator speech, just that it's used in another class, I guess. Again, in all transparency, I haven't really thought through like what happens to the people that are taking an incomplete. I mean, I may have you two just work with each other on like, okay, critique each other's posters or watch each other's posters and stuff, because I don't think it's fair to think that everybody's going to have the poster presentation due by this. And so again, I just put the caveat at the bottom that to complete this class without taking an incomplete, I have to have everything in by April 10th at 10 p.m. And that's really just based on our registrars and what they ask as far as turning in grades. So again, if you're able to do that, fantastic. If you're already starting from a place where, okay, I've got stuff I've got to finish up, then that's where you're at, and finish that stuff up. And again, you'll take an incomplete, and these due dates will change accordingly. Stop sharing that. Let me go back into Moodle for one more second. And okay. One last share of my screen here, you guys, and then I'll see what questions you guys might have for me. So this is week 2 that I'm showing you right now, which is this first forum post. Again, there should only be 2 of these, but week 2, this is due January 19th, so 10 days from now. You're uploading a Word document talking about the current state of your plans for implementation. So again, your plan might be, I am ready to go. I'm going to start X, Y, and Z. Your plan might be, I'm still planning this, but this is what I'm planning to have happen. So again, for some of you, this might be sort of in the hypothetical realm. For others, you're going to be ready to go. So again, you're getting 10 points for just telling the cohort, what's the goal of your project? What's your project design? What kind of tools or instruments are you using? And then here's where you're getting into your plan. What are the deliverables that you're trying to do? How are you going to measure those, and what is the timeline for that? So again, start thinking through those things. If you're really not at a place where you can answer some of those, maybe just send me an email and kind of let me know, so I'm thinking along those lines. In Moodle, I'm going to stop sharing again here. In Moodle, you guys, is the poster, rubric, and template and everything. Do you want me to go into that at all? Okay, I'm like, I don't need to spend time doing stuff like that. What other questions might you have for me? And again, if you run into something, email me. I'm happy to do a one-on-one Zoom. If I'm finding, oh my gosh, everybody's asking me about this, then I'll make a, hey, here's Jules' video to you all answering this question that seems to be on everybody's mind. So my time is yours. Reach out to me as you need help. If you're getting stuck with whether it's your faculty person, whether it's your project person, again, I kind of see my role is, again, as sort of the co-director in teaching this class too, if I'm happy to kind of help mediate things to get the ball rolling and stuff too as needed. I've taken 50 minutes of your time this evening. I'm happy to answer any other questions that you have here before we wrap up.
Hey, Joel, I clicked on the week 2 forum posts, and there's an example you've shared there. And it seems like it's do you want them like in like almost like in APA form, or do you want it as a Word document? Like, I looked at that example and wondered if that's how you want it.
That's how you wanted to put it, us to put it in the forum? Is that what you're asking, Rosemary?
Yeah, yeah.
So it looks like kind of an official paper.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hold on. This is what I get, Rosemary, for just uploading Ruth's thing. Successful forum project. Trying to open. I am not popping that open. I see the example that's there. If that is written in like paper format, then that's what I would like to see it as.
Wanted in, okay.
Mhm.
And
Is that what the example shows of kind of in a paper format? That's what I am led to believe, because it talks about APA 7th edition and stuff. So it looks like she's having it again. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rosemary, to put you on the spot. How long is the example that's in there?
It's a 5-page. It's a real paper. It's
Okay.
a 5-page. Yeah, with yeah, APA former
Reference page, it says
Ref-
there's not a reference page, but you will include one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a little different than forums that at
yeah,
least I'm used to.
right.
Yeah, that's feeling much more like a paper.
Yeah.
it seems though like the part of it, I will just take straight from my proposal, right?
Well, and that's
For
what I
those of
was
us who are at that
hoping
point.
is like, please,
Mhm.
please build this out of the work that you've already done.
But some of us are not there. So Susan, I'm still doing a literature review.
Mhm.
Okay, so your paper dated, but then got past page 1 of my paper yet,
Mhm.
because I literally went back to the drawing board from the very beginning with an entirely new project. So yeah, so I won't be able to do that because it's not developed yet. So whatever you decide, I mean, I'll give you, but I just wanted to let you know not all of us are there.
Yeah, no, and that's the challenge right there, Amy, is like, I'm trying to like weigh like, where do we go with this, and doing forums and that sort of thing. So guys, give me a day or two. Since the forum isn't due for a week, let me sit with some of these really good questions that you guys are asking. I knew there was going to sort of be this disconnect but this helps me to kind of meet with you and really think through like, how is this going to work? Because in my mind, as soon as we're doing incompletes at this point, it almost feels like each student is on, like I've said, is kind of on their own trajectory. And so how do we do these things in a way that's sort of meaningful and engaging if everybody's at a different spot with it? So yeah, let me give a little bit of thought to this and I'll be back with you guys on that. Anything else here? Other than me figuring out what we're doing. Because yeah, Susan, you're exactly right. When you're at your spot, just chunking those things out from your paper and putting them into something makes sense. But if you're not there, then that feels like a pretty daunting forum post to be 6 weeks ahead of where you're at. Yeah. And it may be something as simple as, yeah, I just got to think it through, you guys here. All right, hold on 1 second here. I just want to make sure before I let you go that I feel good enough about what we've kind of.
And you're going to let us know, Jewel, whether or not the time we spend on that sort of an assignment counts for our hours.
Yeah, so I have my to-do list, which is hours related to assignments, all the DNP essentials, and then sort of I'm making myself a third to do here, which is kind of the forums. I'm going to call it kind of related to place in the program. Thanks for bearing with me here for a second. I'm just pulling up the syllabi to look at these deliverables. So the IRB we talked about, and that one's pretty straightforward, or it depends a little bit on where you're doing your IRB. Forum participation, that's what I gotta think through. Meeting minutes is pretty straightforward. Poster presentation. Okay, I'm feeling like we've covered enough for this evening. I think too, as you get to the point, you know, whether it's in this class, whether it's in an incomplete of doing the IRB, Amy, Rosemary in particular, since you're going to do that through Goshen, reach out to me and I'm happy to show you the forms and stuff. Like that feels like that's more of a one-on-one thing. Kathy, I'm sure Melody can help you, or maybe you already know that from being on faculty there at EMU. But happy to help with that. I think I need to clarify the forum thing, and then we'll have to think through the poster presentations of if there's incompletes. Again, I think that people can kind of be paired up a little bit together to do some of those. And I don't even know that there's really a watch each other's. I think maybe that's just on me to grade. So maybe I'm overthinking that one a little bit. As we go into this class, as other questions pop up, feel free to email me. Feel free to email the entire group. I don't mind if you have a question and you ask everybody, because other students may have the same question. And sometimes if somebody asks me a question, I just respond to everybody too, because I kind of think, okay, if somebody's asked this, maybe somebody else wonders the same thing, or it doesn't hurt to clarify it. So there we go. All that to say, you guys, thank you so much for your hour of time this evening. Reach out to me as you need to, because like I said, we're all kind of in different places, and we'll just navigate this next 14 to 16 weeks together. And for some of you, it will be longer, and that just means I get to be with you longer. So not a problem. All right, you guys, take care. Have a good night.